You've been taught that victimhood is noble, that suffering makes you pure, that enduring pain without fighting back somehow elevates your moral standing. But listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Every moment you spend wallowing in victim mentality, every second you waste believing that fairness will save you, you're handing your enemies the keys to your destruction. The world is not a courtroom where justice prevails. It's a battlefield where the strategically superior survive and the naive perish. And right now, you have a choice. You can continue bleeding from wounds that others inflicted, or you can transform that blood into war paint. You can keep crying about the unfairness of your circumstances, or you can use that pain as rocket fuel to ascend the social hierarchy and dominate those who once looked down on you. Machiavelli understood something that most men never grasp. Pain is not your enemy, it's your greatest teacher. Every betrayal you've endured, every humiliation you've swallowed, every moment when you felt powerless, these experiences have given you something that comfortable people will never possess. They've given you hunger, they've given you clarity about how the world really works, and most importantly, they've stripped away your illusions about human nature. The comfortable man believes in fairness. The man who has suffered knows that power is the only currency that matters. The sheltered individual trusts in good intentions. The battle-tested warrior understands that everyone has hidden agendas. Your pain has educated you in ways that no university ever could. Now it's time to weaponize that education. Most people who experience trauma become smaller. They shrink into themselves, building walls to protect their wounded hearts. They develop victim mentalities that keep them trapped in cycles of powerlessness. But you're going to do something different. You're going to use your suffering as a forge, heating your resolve until it becomes unbreakable steel. Every person who hurt you thought they were breaking you down. They believed they were establishing dominance over you. They assumed you would remain beneath them forever, but they made a critical error. They gave you the most valuable gift possible. They showed you exactly how power works in the real world. They demonstrated the techniques that the strong use against the weak, and now you're going to turn those same techniques against them. The first law of transformation from victim to victor is this: stop seeking justice and start seeking power. Justice is a fantasy that keeps weak people passive. They sit around waiting for karma, waiting for fairness, waiting for someone else to right the wrongs committed against them. Meanwhile, their enemies continue climbing the hierarchy, accumulating more influence and positioning themselves beyond the reach of consequences. Power doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about what's fair. It only respects strength, strategy, and the willingness to act decisively when opportunities present themselves. The moment you stop whining about injustice and start studying the mechanics of influence, everything changes. You stop being a victim and start becoming a predator. But understand this clearly. Becoming a predator doesn't mean becoming evil. It means becoming strategically sophisticated. It means learning to think 3 moves ahead, while others are still reacting to the last move. It means developing the ability to manipulate social dynamics in your favor without anyone realizing what you're doing. The second law is to study your enemies obsessively. Every person who wronged you revealed something about their psychology, their weaknesses, their fears, and their desires. Instead of trying to forget these painful experiences, you need to analyze them like a scientist studying specimens under a microscope. What motivated them to target you? What insecurities drove their behavior? What social dynamics allowed them to get away with their actions? How did they manipulate others to support their position? These are not just philosophical questions. They're intelligence gathering that will help you understand how power flows through social systems. When someone betrays you, they're essentially giving you a masterclass in manipulation. They're showing you their techniques, their timing, their methods of gaining support from others. Most victims waste this valuable information by focusing on their emotional pain. But you're going to extract every lesson from these experiences and add them to your arsenal. The third law is to build your influence systematically and invisibly. Revenge fantasies are for amateurs. Professionals focus on long-term strategic positioning. Instead of plotting dramatic confrontations, you're going to quietly accumulate social capital, professional credentials, and network connections that elevate your status above your former tormentors. This requires patience and discipline. You cannot let your emotions drive your timeline. You cannot rush the process because you're angry or hurt. Strategic ascension takes time, but it's infinitely more satisfying than any momentary act of retaliation. When you finally surpass those who once held power over you, their defeat will be complete and permanent. Start by identifying the social hierarchies that matter in your environment. Every workplace, every social circle, every community has invisible power structures. Most people never bother to map these systems, which is why they remain at the bottom. But you're going to study these hierarchies like a military strategist studying enemy territory. Who are the real decision makers? Not the people with official titles, but the individuals who actually influence outcomes. Who are the gatekeepers who control access to opportunities? Who are the connectors who can introduce you to important people? Who are the information brokers who know everyone's secrets and weaknesses? Once you understand the landscape, you can begin positioning yourself strategically. This isn't about being fake or manipulative in obvious ways. It's about presenting the version of yourself that serves your objectives. It's about saying the right things to the right people at the right times. It's about making yourself useful to those who can elevate your position. The fourth law is to master the art of strategic patience. Victims want immediate satisfaction. They want their pain acknowledged right now. They want their enemies punished immediately. But victors understand that the most devastating victories require careful timing and meticulous preparation. Think about your ascension like a chess game. Every move you make should position you for a stronger next move. Every conversation should either gather intelligence or build influence. Every relationship should either provide resources or eliminate threats. Nothing should be random or emotional. Everything should serve your ultimate objective of climbing above those who once looked down on you. This means you might have to smile at people you despise. You might have to compliment individuals who hurt you. You might have to appear grateful to those who showed you no mercy. This isn't weakness. This is camouflage. Predators don't announce their intentions to their prey. The fifth law is to weaponize your knowledge of suffering. Your painful experiences have given you insights into human psychology that comfortable people cannot access. You understand how cruelty works because you've experienced it. You know how manipulation feels because you've been its target. You recognize the signs of predatory behavior because you've been hunted. This knowledge makes you incredibly dangerous in social situations, even though others won't realize it. You can spot liars because you've been lied to expertly. You can identify manipulators because you've been manipulated by professionals. You can predict betrayal because you've been betrayed by masters. Use this psychological intelligence to navigate social hierarchies with supernatural precision. When others are being deceived, you'll see through the deception. When others are being manipulated, you'll recognize the techniques being used. When others are walking into traps, you'll avoid the danger and possibly even profit from their mistakes. But more importantly, you can use your understanding of pain to influence others strategically. You know what hurts people because you've been hurt. You know what people fear because you've experienced fear. You know what people crave because you've craved the same things. This knowledge allows you to push psychological buttons that others don't even know exist. The sixth law is to build multiple power bases simultaneously. Victims put all their eggs in one basket and then wonder why they're vulnerable when that basket gets destroyed. Victors diversify their sources of influence so that losing one position doesn't eliminate their overall power. Develop professional expertise that makes you indispensable. Build financial resources that give you independence. Cultivate relationships across different social circles so you're never isolated. Acquire skills that translate across multiple environments. Create value in ways that multiple types of people appreciate. When you have power flowing from multiple sources, you become nearly impossible to destroy. Your enemies might be able to damage one area of your life, but they cannot eliminate your overall influence. This security gives you the confidence to take calculated risks and make bold moves that single-source individuals cannot afford. The seventh law is to control information flow strategically. In any social hierarchy, information is power. Knowing things that others don't know gives you advantages in every interaction. But more importantly, controlling what information others receive allows you to shape their perceptions and decisions. Become someone who knows everyone's business without revealing your own. Listen more than you speak. Ask questions that make others reveal their weaknesses, fears, and desires. Remember everything you learn and use it strategically when opportunities arise. but also become skilled at managing your own information security. Don't reveal your true thoughts, feelings, or intentions to anyone who doesn't need to know them. Keep your plans private until they're ready to be executed. Never give potential enemies ammunition they can use against you. The eighth law is to master the psychology of social proof. Humans are herd animals. They look to others for cues about how to think, feel, and behave. If you can influence how groups perceive you, you can manipulate individual responses without having to convince each person separately. This means building a reputation that precedes you into every room. When people hear your name, they should immediately think of competence, success, and influence. When they see you approaching, they should feel a mixture of respect and slight intimidation. When they interact with you, they should walk away feeling like they've encountered someone important. Create this reputation through consistent strategic behavior. Always deliver more than you promise. Always appear calm under pressure. Always speak with confidence and precision. Always dress slightly better than necessary. Always arrive prepared and leave gracefully. These small behaviors compound over time into a powerful social presence. The ninth law is to eliminate emotional vulnerabilities systematically. Your enemies hurt you by exploiting your emotional weak points. They identified what you cared about most and then attacked those areas. To prevent this from happening again, you need to develop strategic emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or heartless. It means not allowing your emotions to create exploitable weaknesses. Don't let others know what you fear most. Don't reveal what you want desperately. Don't show which criticisms hurt you deeply. Don't demonstrate which threats frighten you genuinely. When people cannot identify your emotional pressure points, they cannot manipulate you effectively. They're forced to engage with you on intellectual and strategic levels where your preparation and intelligence give you advantages. Practice controlling your emotional responses in low-stakes situations so you'll be ready when high-stakes moments arrive. Train yourself to pause before reacting to provocative statements. Develop the ability to smile when you're angry and remain calm when you're excited. Master your facial expressions so they reveal only what you choose to reveal. The 10th law is to become indispensable to those above you while remaining unthreatening. This is perhaps the most delicate balance in social hierarchy climbing. You need to provide enough value that powerful people want to keep you around, but not so much value that they see you as a potential rival. Study the people you want to surpass and identify their genuine needs, fears, and blind spots. Then position yourself as the solution to their problems without appearing ambitious enough to eventually replace them. Make yourself useful in ways that require your continued presence but don't highlight your growing power. This often means becoming exceptional at tasks that powerful people find boring or difficult. Handle their administrative burdens, manage their relationship conflicts, research their decisions, organize their information, solve their logistical problems. The more indispensable you become, the more access you gain to their networks, resources, and decision-making processes. But always remember that your ultimate goal is to surpass them, not serve them forever. This is perhaps the most crucial mindset shift you must make in your ascension journey. Too many people become comfortable in their roles as loyal servants, mistaking proximity to power for actual power. They develop Stockholm syndrome with their oppressors, convincing themselves that being useful to those above them is the same as being valuable in their own right. This is a dangerous delusion that will keep you trapped in subordinate positions indefinitely. Use your access to learn everything you can about how they maintain their positions. This is your greatest advantage during the servant phase. You get to observe power from the inside. Watch how they make decisions, who they consult before making moves, what information sources they rely on, and which relationships they prioritize. Pay attention to their daily routines, their communication patterns, their stress responses, and their blind spots. Notice which tasks they delegate and which they handle personally. Understand their revenue streams, their cost structures, their key performance indicators, and their strategic vulnerabilities. Study their mistakes and weaknesses with the intensity of a forensic investigator. Every powerful person has character flaws that contributed to both their rise and their potential fall. Some are addicted to flattery and make poor decisions when their ego is stroked. Others are paranoid and alienate valuable allies through unnecessary suspicion. Many are lazy and delegate critical thinking to subordinates who may not have their best interests at heart. Document these patterns systematically because they represent future opportunities for strategic exploitation. Build relationships with their contacts while appearing to do so on their behalf. Attend their meetings, handle their correspondence, manage their social calendars, and gradually position yourself as an indispensable intermediary. Make yourself so useful to their network that people begin coming to you directly instead of going through your superior. Become the person who remembers important details, follows up on commitments, and solves problems efficiently. Over time, these contacts will begin to see you as more competent and reliable than the person you supposedly serve. Develop expertise in their areas of ignorance with relentless focus and dedication. Every leader has knowledge gaps that they either ignore or delegate to others. These gaps represent opportunities for you to become irreplaceable and eventually indispensable. If they're weak in technology, become a tech expert. If they don't understand finance, master financial analysis. If they struggle with international markets, develop global expertise. The goal is to control information and capabilities that they need but cannot obtain elsewhere. Prepare yourself to eventually make them irrelevant through systematic skill development and strategic positioning. This process takes years, not months, and requires extraordinary patience and discipline. You must become better than them at their own game while simultaneously developing capabilities they never possessed. You must build relationships they cannot access, acquire knowledge they cannot comprehend, and develop influence they cannot counter. Only when you have achieved overwhelming superiority in multiple dimensions should you consider making your move. The 11th law is to strike only when victory is guaranteed, and this principle separates true strategists from emotional reactors. Amateurs attack when they're angry, responding to slights and provocations with immediate retaliation that feels satisfying but accomplishes nothing strategic. They mistake activity for progress and aggression for strength. Their moves are predictable, their timing is poor, and their outcomes are usually disastrous because they prioritize emotional satisfaction over strategic advantage. Professionals attack when they're certain to win, having done the mathematical and strategic analysis necessary to predict outcomes with near certainty. They understand that revenge is a dish best served cold because time allows for proper preparation, strategic positioning, and the accumulation of overwhelming advantages. They know that a single, perfectly executed strike is worth more than 100 impulsive attacks that merely alert enemies to their intentions. The difference between these approaches determines whether you become a cautionary tale or a success story that others study and emulate. History is filled with people who had legitimate grievances and justified anger but destroyed themselves through premature action. They rushed into battles they couldn't win, alienated allies they needed, and revealed their intentions before they had the power to achieve their goals. Their stories serve as warnings about the importance of strategic patience and emotional discipline. Before making any move against someone who wronged you, make sure you have overwhelming advantages across multiple dimensions of conflict. This means conducting a thorough strategic analysis that examines every aspect of the competitive landscape. You need superior positioning in the social hierarchy, which means having allies at levels above your target. You need better information about their vulnerabilities, plans, and resources than they have about yours. You need stronger alliances with people who can provide support, protection, or strategic assistance when needed. You also need more resources than your opponent, whether financial, social, intellectual, or temporal. Resource advantages allow you to sustain longer conflicts, survive temporary setbacks, and pursue multiple strategic approaches simultaneously. Most importantly, you need clearer escape routes and contingency plans for every possible outcome, including partial success, complete failure, and unexpected complications. Never engage in fair fights because fair fights are determined by chance, and chance is not a reliable foundation for strategic victory. Only engage in battles where the outcome is predetermined in your favor through superior preparation, positioning, and resource allocation. This might seem cowardly to people who romanticize honorable combat, but honor is a luxury that victims cannot afford. Your goal is victory, not moral validation from people who were never hurt the way you were hurt. This might mean waiting years for the right opportunity, watching potential openings pass by, because the timing isn't perfect or the advantages aren't overwhelming enough. It requires extraordinary patience and emotional discipline to see opportunities for partial revenge and choose to wait for opportunities for complete victory. Most people cannot sustain this level of strategic thinking over extended periods because they need immediate gratification and emotional release. It might mean watching your enemies succeed temporarily while you prepare your eventual victory, which is perhaps the most psychologically challenging aspect of strategic patience. You must endure seeing people who hurt you receive promotions, recognition, and rewards while you remain in seemingly subordinate positions. You must smile and congratulate them while internally calculating how their temporary success creates new vulnerabilities you can exploit later. It might mean appearing weak or submissive while you accumulate the power necessary to destroy them completely. This requires acting skills that most people never develop because it goes against every instinct for immediate self-respect and social validation. You must allow people to underestimate you, dismiss you, and even mock you while you systematically acquire the capabilities that will eventually make their opinions irrelevant. But when you finally do strike, make sure it's devastating and permanent rather than merely satisfying or temporarily inconvenient. This is where many strategic climbers fail because they prioritize emotional satisfaction over strategic effectiveness. They want their enemies to know who defeated them and why, which often allows for recovery and counterattack. Instead, focus on completely eliminating their ability to threaten you ever again. Don't wound enemies and leave them alive to plot revenge, because wounded enemies are more dangerous than healthy ones. A person who has been humiliated but not destroyed will dedicate enormous energy to planning your downfall. They will study your methods, identify your weaknesses, and wait for their own opportunity to strike back. Unless you can convert an enemy into an ally through your victory, complete elimination of their threat potential is the only safe outcome. Don't embarrass rivals and give them opportunities to recover their reputation and position. Public humiliation often generates sympathy from others and creates motivation for comeback narratives that people love to support. Instead, make their defeat look like natural consequences of their own limitations rather than results of your strategic superiority. Let them appear to fail on their own merits rather than through your intervention. When you move against someone, eliminate their ability to threaten you ever again through systematic destruction of their power base. This means removing their access to resources, information, allies, and opportunities. It means making them irrelevant to future power dynamics rather than simply defeating them in current conflicts. The goal is not punishment, but permanent strategic neutralization. The 12th law is to help others climb while you climb, recognizing that power is not a zero-sum game if you play it correctly with sufficient strategic sophistication. Many people believe that lifting others reduces their own potential for advancement, but this scarcity mindset prevents them from building the alliance networks necessary for sustained success at higher levels of hierarchy. By lifting strategic allies as you rise, you create a network of people who owe their success partially to your support and guidance. These relationships become invaluable assets as you continue ascending, because higher levels of hierarchy require more complex forms of social and political navigation. You cannot succeed alone at the top levels because the challenges become too multifaceted for any individual to handle independently. You need allies who can provide specialized expertise, early warning about threats, alternative perspectives on strategic decisions, and coordinated action when conflicts arise. Identify individuals who are talented but currently undervalued by existing power structures. These are people who have genuine capabilities but lack the connections, opportunities, or strategic positioning necessary to demonstrate their worth. They represent excellent investment opportunities because the cost of helping them is relatively low, while the potential return in loyalty and future assistance is extremely high. Look for people who have potential but lack opportunities to prove themselves in meaningful contexts. They might be stuck in organizations that don't recognize their abilities, or they might be excluded from important projects due to political considerations rather than competence issues. These individuals are often hungry for chances to demonstrate their worth and will remember who provided those chances long after they achieve success. Also focus on people who have skills but need connections to apply those skills effectively. Technical experts who lack business networks, creative individuals who need access to decision makers, or strategic thinkers who need platforms to implement their ideas. By providing introductions and access, you can dramatically accelerate their career progression while building strong reciprocal relationships. Invest in these relationships by providing mentorship, introductions, or resources that help them advance their careers in measurable ways. This might mean teaching them strategic thinking skills they never learned formally, introducing them to people who can provide opportunities or guidance, or sharing resources like information, tools, or financial support that remove barriers to their progress. The key is to provide help that makes a real difference in their trajectories rather than superficial assistance that feels good but accomplishes nothing meaningful. Focus on interventions that multiply their capabilities or open doors that would otherwise remain closed. The more significant your contribution to their success, the stronger their sense of obligation and loyalty will become. As these people succeed, they remember who helped them when they were struggling and had no power to reciprocate. This creates psychological bonds that are much stronger than relationships built during mutual prosperity. People who help others during difficult times earn a special category of loyalty that survives conflicts, misunderstandings, and competing interests that might destroy other alliances. They become loyal allies who can provide support, information, and protection as you navigate increasingly complex social hierarchies. Support means having people who will advocate for your interests even when you're not present to represent yourself. Information means having sources who will warn you about threats, opportunities, and important developments in areas you cannot monitor personally. Protection means having allies who will defend you against attacks and help you recover from setbacks. They also serve as extensions of your influence in areas where you cannot be present personally, multiplying your effective reach and impact across multiple domains simultaneously. This is crucial for higher-level success because top-tier opportunities often require coordinated action across different sectors, organizations, or geographic regions. Having trusted allies in strategic positions allows you to pursue complex, multidimensional strategies that would be impossible as an individual actor. But choose your proteges carefully, applying rigorous selection criteria that prioritize character and strategic potential over immediate gratitude or personal affinity. Invest only in people who demonstrate loyalty through their actions rather than their words, competence through their results rather than their credentials, and strategic thinking through their decisions rather than their intentions. Avoid helping individuals who might eventually become rivals due to overlapping ambitions or competing interests. Also avoid people who lack the character to remain grateful for your assistance once they achieve independent success. Some individuals have personalities that require them to minimize others' contributions to their achievements in order to maintain their self-image. These people will rewrite history to diminish your role in their success and may even become hostile to avoid feeling indebted. The final law is to never forget that this is all a game, and this perspective is crucial for maintaining both strategic effectiveness and psychological health throughout your ascension journey. Social hierarchies are artificial constructs created by humans and maintained through collective agreement rather than natural law or divine mandate. The people at the top are not inherently superior to those at the bottom in terms of intelligence, character, or worthiness. They simply understand the rules better and play more skillfully within the existing system. This perspective protects you from taking losses personally and prevents victories from making you arrogant or complacent. When someone defeats you strategically, you don't need to hate them or question your fundamental worth as a person. You just need to study their techniques objectively, understand why they succeeded, develop counters to their strategies, and prepare for future encounters with better preparation and positioning. When you defeat others, you don't need to gloat or derive emotional satisfaction from their suffering. You just need to maintain your position, consolidate your gains, and prepare for the next challenge that will inevitably arise. Victory is a temporary state that requires constant vigilance and strategic adaptation to maintain. Understanding that hierarchy climbing is a game also helps you maintain ethical boundaries while pursuing strategic objectives. You can be ruthless in your strategy without being cruel in your execution, focusing on winning rather than inflicting unnecessary suffering. You can outmaneuver opponents without destroying them as human beings, recognizing that today's enemy might become tomorrow's ally under different circumstances. You can win completely while still maintaining your core values and sense of personal integrity. The goal is strategic. Superiority, not moral corruption. You want to become powerful enough to protect yourself and shape your environment, not so callous that you lose your humanity in the process. The goal is not to become a monster who destroys everything in pursuit of power. The goal is to become strategically superior to those who once held power over you, rising so far above your former position that the people who hurt you can never reach you again. You want to build such strong defenses and strategic positions that future enemies cannot penetrate your armor or threaten your core interests. Your pain was the price of admission to this game, teaching you lessons about power dynamics that comfortable people never learn. Your suffering was the tuition for this education in strategic thinking and social navigation that most people avoid because it's too psychologically demanding. Your humiliation was the motivation for this transformation from victim to victor that requires extraordinary discipline and patience to complete. Now you have everything you need to climb higher than those who pushed you down ever dreamed possible. You have the knowledge, the motivation, the strategic framework, and the emotional discipline necessary for systematic ascension through social hierarchies. The question is whether you have the courage to apply these principles consistently over the extended time periods required for complete success. The weak remain victims forever, nursing their wounds and hoping for justice that never comes from external sources. They wait for others to recognize their worth, validate their suffering, and provide the opportunities they deserve. They remain reactive rather than proactive, responding to circumstances rather than creating them. The strong transform their wounds into weapons and use those weapons to conquer the hierarchies that once excluded them. They take responsibility for their own justice, their own opportunities, and their own strategic positioning. They become proactive forces who shape circumstances rather than merely responding to them. You have the choice right now between these two paths. You can continue being a victim of circumstances beyond your control, hoping that the world will eventually become fair and that good people will be rewarded for their virtue. Or you can become a victor who controls the circumstances that determine other people's fates, taking responsibility for creating the outcomes you want rather than waiting for them to be provided. The path from victim to victor is not easy and should not be romanticized or oversimplified. It requires discipline that most people never develop because it demands sacrificing immediate gratification for long-term strategic advantage. It requires patience that most people cannot sustain because it means enduring years of apparent subordination while building real power. It requires strategic thinking that most people find exhausting because it demands constant analysis and calculation rather than emotional reaction. Most importantly, it requires emotional control that most people never achieve because it means suppressing natural impulses for immediate revenge, recognition, and validation in favor of strategic positioning for ultimate victory. This level of self-discipline is rare because it goes against human nature and social conditioning that emphasizes immediate expression of feelings and desires. But the alternative is remaining powerless while others shape your destiny according to their preferences rather than your needs. The alternative is accepting whatever treatment others decide you deserve rather than demanding the respect and opportunities you want. The alternative is hoping for justice rather than creating it through strategic action. Your enemies gave you the greatest gift possible when they hurt you, though they certainly didn't intend it as a gift. They showed you exactly how the world really works beneath the surface of polite social conventions. They demonstrated that nice people finish last when competing against strategic thinkers who prioritize results over reputation. They proved that if you want justice, you have to create it yourself through superior positioning and strategic action. Now use everything they taught you through their treatment of you. Use every technique they demonstrated in their rise to power. Use every weakness they revealed through their behavior and decision-making. Use every mistake they made that you observed during your time in subordinate positions. Transform from their victim into their superior through systematic application of strategic principles they never fully understood. The hierarchy is waiting for you to climb it, and there are positions available at every level for people who understand the rules and play skillfully. The only question is whether you have the strategic intelligence and emotional discipline to reach the top, or whether you'll remain at lower levels complaining about the unfairness of systems you never learned to navigate effectively. Your ascension begins with a single decision to stop being a victim and start being a strategist. Everything else follows from that fundamental choice. Comment below, from victim to victor, power is my justice.